Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show right now on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET Now's special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center in every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight on Crux, a very special conversation with Rostow Ravanan. He's the CEO and MD of Mindtree. Rostow, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. First and foremost, the first time we're speaking with you, especially after you took over a year and a half ago. What's it been like so far? What's the industry looking like?
The last year and a half has been phenomenal. Very excited. I have learned a lot and really enjoyed my new role over the last 1.5 years at Mindtree. Met some really fascinating people across Mindtree and also clients and even stakeholders outside the organization. Has been a great journey. I'm looking forward to every day in the future.
Is the IT industry right now doing more domestic-focused business, Rostow? Can you talk to our viewers about how perhaps the domestic industry, the domestic market, I beg your pardon, is picking up and how that opportunity can be tapped?
I think India is opening up to be a new frontier for the Indian IT industry. The large players historically had some presence, but younger, smaller players like us did not have a large focus on the Indian market in the past, but I see that changing. It's changing for two reasons. Younger, smaller companies, the MSMEs that your show tracks, have begun to understand how much technology can make a difference to their own businesses. Adoption of technology, especially new technologies around digital, has become a big priority for the corporate India right now, and that's one of the priorities for us. Secondly, the large ecosystem partners that we work with, like an SAP or a Microsoft or a Salesforce, have definitely made a big impact into the domestic market across both the large and the MSME segments. And we are riding the coattails of the initiatives that they have taken as well.
The reason I'm asking you that question, of course, is to understand, one, whether the domestic demand is picking up, but also to understand if MSMEs and SMEs are using IT much more than before. What's your opinion on that?
Definitely, yes. So the corporate India across both large, medium and small enterprises have understood how much of an impact technology can create to them. And within that overall corporate India landscape, definitely the younger, smaller companies have realized how technology can, give them like a judo advantage where they can unseat their, larger competitors in their respective segments there. And also we are seeing a large number of young, small companies realizing that new business ideas, new business models can flourish across all spectrum, whether it's food, whether it's healthcare, whether it's hospitality, all forms of services to retail customers. Across all of those segments, there are a lot of medium and small enterprises that are very innovative, reaching out to a new customer segments, in new business models, opening up new avenues of business. And technology has become the prime driver behind those successes. All of these businesses are technology enabled. Predominantly their IT infrastructure is on the cloud. Predominantly their marketing is through social media and so on and so forth. So technology is almost the core business purpose for some of these organizations. And people like Mindtree are recognizing this and helping our clients with that transformation.
You were talking about the advantages of using technology in your answer. We have a bi-weekly call-in show here on the Leaders of Tomorrow where a lot of MSMEs tell us that the cost of using technology is very prohibitive. What would you have to say to that? Of course, there are things like the cloud, but it seems like the information, the knowledge about that doesn't still seem to be available to small businesses. How will that change your views?
It's a continuously declining curve. Any new technology, when it starts becoming mainstream, usually is expensive. But the good part is technology is becoming democratic, or there's a democratization of technology happening very, very rapidly. And therefore, even something that appears to be expensive today becomes very cost effective very shortly due to large scale adoption. So I think that problem will get solved by itself as more and more users adopt those technologies there. And finally, I also think sophisticated users of technology, be it large companies or be it MSMEs or SMEs, also have a huge range of choices today compared to the past, where there just used to be one or two technology choices available for, say, hardware or software to corporations in the past. Today, a whole range of technologies are available, including if enterprises who want to be very frugal can do a lot of things using open source software. So by interacting with a player who understands their needs, some of these companies are also discovering the whole art of what is possible.
Fair enough. Has Digital India perhaps had any role in playing when it comes to dissemination of information about the use of technology? You're talking about open source, cloud, etc. Has the government initiative helped to any extent?
It has started to make an impact. The problem is India is a very large country. So for anything to take enough of an impact at a grassroots level, clearly it takes some time, because the transmission of some of these benefits is not immediate given the size and the scale of India. But I think these steps are in the right direction. Outside of the corporate world, in the government itself, it has begun to make a difference already. We know, for example, in many leading states in India which have been adopting digital technologies a little bit earlier, chief ministers do reviews with the district commissioners across the entire state during video conference. So like that, there are some impact that's begun to felt by the common man. But I think we are close to the tipping point where more benefits will get felt by common men already.
We had the opportunity to speak with the NASSCOM president recently and ask him about his advice for MSMEs on tapping domestic markets, tapping domestic business. And he told us his one headline was that the domestic market is and should be a first market, is the biggest opportunity for small businesses. Your view and your advice for small businesses about how and what their USP is when it comes to tapping the domestic market, especially since they're competing with players like yourself for a share or a pie of the business?
I would advise all businesses to be laser focused on their customer and be very, very clear as to what problem they are solving for that customer. If you build that ethos into the organization, you will be able to succeed on any market that you participate in. From a business strategy perspective, some businesses will be domestic focused, some businesses will be export focused, and then they will move from one market to the other. That is just the path of evolution of each company over the course of its life. However, if you stay focused with a very specific, very tangible, very value-added proposition for the target customers that you go after, there will always be success. Especially for small and medium enterprises, my advice would be to first define your target customer market very, very clearly. Trying to be everything for everybody will not make sense. Maybe you will target only a locality or a state or a region or whatever way by which you define your customer base. Be very clear, because all your value proposition, your differentiation, your appeal should be focused towards that identified customer segment. And secondly, my advice would be make sure that your quality of whatever product or service that you are delivering is the best possible that customer can experience. Because if you disappoint that customer, then trying to get that customer to come back to you will be a very big uphill battle. So don't go to market till your offering is rigorously tested and your approach, whether it's a product or service, has really achieved customer delight for that segment. Once you reach those two, then the world is your oyster. Then you can scale in any dimension that you want to scale your business.
Rostow, do hold that thought. We'll take a very quick break, but much more on the other side. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we're bringing you a special conversation on the IT industry with Rostow Ravanan, CEO and MD of Mindtree. We were talking about Digital India earlier. Even as the government is pushing Digital India, Skill India, etc., a large part of which is benefiting small companies. My question to you is about the regulatory environment. Previously, we had things like the sunset policy specifically for the IT industry. Are you happy with the environment that exists right now for the IT industry? If not, what more would you like to see?
I think the industry has learned to walk on its own 2 feet and begin to run. So we are not necessarily in an environment where we need to continuously go back to the government and ask for additional tax incentives or subsidies or anything or the other. I am proud to say that at least the IT industry has reached maturity and can function without government support. I think overall corporate India is also relatively mature, relatively strong, highly innovative, and can work within a fair and transparent regulatory regime. So our asks of the government are less in terms of policies or subsidies, things like that. Our asks of the government are, I would say, broadly 2 things. Firstly, as and when you come up with policies or whatever you do, the most important need for us, to some extent, is inclusiveness and stability. Meaning, let's not have a situation where some bureaucrat or politician sits somewhere and imagines what's required for the country and drafts it. Include us in the thought process. We will bring you ideas as well as feedback from the ground reality as to what is required. So that is part of the ask. But part of the ask is also, once we come up with something, let it be stable for maybe 3 years or 5 years, rather than continuous tweaks to it there. So that's a relatively smaller ask on the policy side.
You were talking about skills. I just want to take that point forward. I remember NASSCOM coming out with a report about 4 or 5 years ago saying only 20 to 25% of everyone who's coming out of colleges nowadays has a requisite skill sets for their jobs. Is that still the scenario on the ground? What are you doing when it comes to reskilling and upskilling? And is that a cost a small company can take on? And if not, how should they overcome that gap?
It is something that's worrying the industry as a whole significantly, because on one hand you have the I would say outstanding opportunity of the demographic dividend in India. A very large number of motivated manpower that's available across the country. However, the skills that the current education system is providing them leave a big gap between what industry needs and what the skills that the education system is providing us there. So a drastic revival or I would say a drastic revision to curriculum, to the exam process, some of those will definitely be a big need. In the absence of such structural reforms in education that provides better outcomes, a lot of that responsibility then ends up falling on corporates, whether it is large or small corporates, number one, or will leave large numbers of people disenfranchised, because cost of skilling people is a continuously rising cost. Even if you leave the input quality aside for a second, technology and businesses are changing so dramatically that it becomes a big headache to come up with content, create the timeout required, create the infrastructure required, etc. to train. So if something that is available, which is a joint like a private and a public participatory kind of an approach on skill development, that I think is a crying need for the hour.
Fair enough. You were talking about organization building in a previous answer, Rostow. I just want to circle back to that. A lot of the MSMEs tell us that they are unable to find the right talent on one hand. Second, if they do find the talent, they train them for 6 months. They leave for better opportunities with larger companies, including, I presume, a company like Mindtree. what should companies be doing to ensure that they are able to hold on to the employees they hire, especially given that I understand salaries have stagnated across the IT industry for anywhere between 7 to 10 years, and the kind of job opportunities and the kind of growth that a company like yourself, a larger IT company, can offer is always going to be much better than what a smaller business can offer?
Actually, I have almost a 180-degree opposite view to that question, which is there's a lot more innovation, a lot more excitement, a lot more growth today in a younger, smaller enterprise. I mean, just to use Mindtree as a frame of reference here, within the IT industry, in a mid-sized, specialized, advanced technologies kind of an organization like Mindtree, compared to larger players, partly because our size is small, partly also because we are agile. We've read the market needs a little bit earlier and have made the investments and the commitment required to participate in the future. And therefore, the kind of work we are doing with our customers today is more advanced than what the average industry does. So if you are a freshly graduating software engineer, chances are that you'll get to work on more exciting technology within a few months in a place like Mindtree than you would get to in a large organization. So we actually think for smart talent, specialized companies like Mindtree are more advantageous than large companies from a pure quality of work perspective. And then if you add people practices on top of it, younger specialized companies like Mindtree offer a differentiated experience for our young talent. More investments in education, more transparent culture, more inclusive organization, more participatory organization where there's more access to senior management, etc. So I think for young talent, smaller companies like Mindtree make a lot more sense than large companies there. Nothing that is good or bad about anybody. Large companies have their own place in society and they do a lot of good jobs, and they have many advantages as well. But purely for bright young talent, my argument is younger companies are more relevant there.
When we were talking about the skill gap in the industry, you were talking about training and something that corporate India can do in association with the government. I want to talk about entrepreneurship. We seem to have seen an explosion when it comes to entrepreneurship and innovation in corporate India, Rostow. But is entrepreneurship something that can be taught? What are companies like yourself perhaps doing when it comes to encouraging your own employees to think like entrepreneurs?
So there are two ways that we are approaching that problem. One is a whole host of initiatives to continuously garner ideas within the organization to problems that we are facing or to problems that our customer is facing. If you look at the last maybe 3 or 4 senior customer executives that visited Mindtree, part of the agenda that we have created for them is to run a hackathon by teams that are serving that customer, come back and present those ideas to that customer, and many of them have been blown away. Many of the visitors have been blown away by the initiatives that our talent has been able to produce and showcase to our customers. So we are continuously encouraging polling for ideas, creating the platforms for people to to generate new ideas and come back there. And where ideas are qualified through an internal process, there is also a resource commitment through our CTO function on incubating those ideas and at least reaching a certain level of maturity. So there's a bunch of things that we are doing internally. We think it's cost of doing business. We think it's an essential requirement for survival today. So we have a very, very, what shall I say, deep commitment to that.
All right, I want to talk about digital transformation. You're a pioneer when it comes to the use of digital and digital transformation, and you were speaking about it many years ago at a time when the industry still hadn't reached that stage yet. Do you think now industry has understood the importance of digital transformation? Are more small businesses in a position to tap those opportunities?
I think small businesses get the need of the hour much better than large enterprises. Firstly, because small businesses are more narrowly focused are more committed to the requirements of their customer, etc., like we spoke before. So I think small businesses today completely get the power of digital. If you look at small businesses and the use of, say, social media for marketing, is way more advanced than what large enterprises do on an average. Now, there'll always be exceptions on both sides, but on an average, small businesses are much more digital. They don't have the legacy of large data centers and old applications and so on and so forth. So whether it is internal collaboration, whether it is just being more agile, getting a product out in a more efficient way, using apps, for example, in terms of customer connects, across all that entire spectrum, by and large, most smaller companies, younger companies are more adept at using technology. Large enterprises are a little bit of a spectrum. Some of them understand and are made big commitments behind it. Some of them haven't. But I think it's front of mind for every global enterprise today.
Rostow Ravanan, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have anything you want to say to us or you have any feedback on the show, to remember you can write in at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. On social media, tweet at me at Sunanda_J or on LOT_ET now. You can also leave your comments on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET now, or you can call us on that number you see on your screen. We love hearing from you. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.